Hey there folks, welcome to the channel. My name is James and today we're going to be taking a look at the latest album by The Warning, Keep Me Fed, their fourth full-length album released June 28th, 2024. It is absolutely wild to me that this is the fourth full-length album by this band, given the fact that they're so young. There's not a single member, as of right now anyway, that is over the age of 23, which is crazy. And again, 4 full-length albums, just mind-blowing. And this is a band that I've really come to enjoy in the rock scene recently, in a scene that I feel has been largely boring for a long time, with not a whole lot of interesting stuff going on. It's not the worst in the world by any means, but there's a lot of bands that just want to sound the same. They all want to do the exact same thing. So I was really curious about The Warning. Given the stuff I have reacted to and listened to, which is very minimal, I was really excited to see where this was going to go. If this album was going to be good, is it going to be bad? Is it going to be all right? Let's get into it. Starting off, we have a song like 6 Feet Deep, which is really heavy on the chorus. It's really big on this giant chorus that you can really feel in your chest, while the guitars still maintain this very crunchy feel, and they have a slight heavier feel to them, but nothing too crazy. But it feels like something you'd hear in an arena, that this band would maybe open with, maybe they'd close with it, but you know it would sound just amazing in that setting. Hell You Call a Dream is another one that I would argue is part 2 to that feel, because it feels like it belongs in an arena. It feels like it belongs, like it's an anthem. It is really cool. Not only does it have a lot of like more heavy aspects, it's catchier than all hell. In fact, I would argue that in terms of choruses, not only is this the catchiest chorus, this is the best chorus. This is the most interesting chorus. It sounds very cool. It has a lot of interesting moments there, and it really grabs your attention. Then you have a song like Apologize, which does this nice build up towards the chorus and towards the heavier moments. There's even some rock screams thrown in there. I don't know which member is doing that. I would imagine probably Danny, but still, it sounds so cool and gave a lot of dimension to the song, especially since that song is really trying to build up towards that moment. And those heavy moments go into different tracks, but the one that really stands out and is one of my favorites on the album is Sharks. This song is heavy. It is a hard rock tune. You could argue it's borderline metal, and I was so down for it. It's pretty straightforward, it's in your face though, and I love the crunchy riffs. But this album doesn't just do the guitars well, it also does the bass and the drums beautifully. In fact, arguably, I would say that is the strongest point on this album. The drums sound great, they're very groove oriented, there's not a lot of overplaying going on, if any. Everything is very much the way it needs to sound. It's straightforward, in your face, and when you have that, and you add those interesting bass licks and those bass grooves, it really brings a lot of these songs together that you wouldn't get otherwise. And where the groove I find really gets going is in the song More. That song is nothing but groove. It is it's a foot tapper. You can just kind of bob your head. It's awesome, and it really, again, it's a nice change up given the other tracks on this album. Next, I do want to talk about the choruses again really quick, because quite honestly, they're huge, and most of the songs on this album really drive that home, even if a song is not quite that great. And I think there's a couple tracks here that kind of do fall short. For me, Satisfied and Burnout were just not quite up to par. They're not bad songs by any means, but as far as the album goes and the rest of the songs, they were a bit of a disappointment and kind of brought me to a bit of a halt on my first listen. But the thing that I will praise those songs for is they still have really strong choruses, and while I do feel that the verses and the lead-ups to those aren't the best and they aren't quite as interesting, the chorus is going to hook you in, and that's really, really important. And while I know I just got done praising this band for those catchy moments that really rope you in, one of my favorite songs on this album is Consume, which I would argue really isn't that. It doesn't have that same anthemic feel as the rest of the album. And initially, I actually didn't care for it upon first listen, but after several listens, it really started to grow. And I think that's what that track is going to be for a lot of people. And to keep talking about things that I really love that are a little bit different on this album, I really love, and I'm going to butcher the name, okay, I'm gonna butcher it. It's gonna sound awful, okay? I can't speak Spanish. This is gonna sound horrific. I don't want to say this because I'm gonna butcher it so bad. Quieres? I don't know if I probably said that really wrong. I probably said, take me out back, all the other style friends. But one of the reasons I love the song is the fact that it's not in English. I love the fact that we get something in a different language, and it's in Spanish. I feel like there's not enough rock or metal or whatever bands that are gonna sing in Spanish. I think it's really cool. I think it's a really unique flavor, and it adds something really special, especially at the beginning of the album. It really switches things up a little bit, and I love that, man. Despite my praise of this album, there are some things I don't love and some criticisms I do have. Satisfied and Burnout are just two songs that just really didn't do it for me, and unfortunately where they're placed in the album and the fact that they're back to back really kind of took me out of the experience just a little bit. Like I said before, the choruses do bring you back in, and that's what's important, but it was harder to listen to, and it really kind of took me out of my listen just a little bit. I just find that they're not as interesting songs, and I find a lot of the other songs, while they do have a more straightforward approach, they are interesting. There's maybe some stuff going on in the background, maybe there's some interesting mixing going on, or a cool guitar lick, a bass groove, but here I just didn't really feel that in those songs. And while I have praised the opening track, I think the closing track misses the mark just a little bit. Hell You Call a Dream really does feel to me like it should have probably been the closing track. It feels the most out of all the tracks on here like the one to close it out. Automatic Sun isn't bad by any means. Again, it's not a bad song. I just think the placement, that's where I would argue maybe somewhere else in the album I would have enjoyed it more. Having that as the closer, again, it was a little disappointing. Overall, despite some of my mild criticisms, this album is excellent. It is awesome, and it is breathing, in my opinion, and it will breathe new life into a rock scene that I feel is pretty stale. I think there's some great bands in there, obviously. The Warning, I would say Hailstorm is in there as well, but outside of some legacy bands, I feel like the scene is a little stale. I think there could be a little more danger in it, and I think The Warning can bring us that, and I think, you know, the fact that they're so early on in their careers, and they're already taking over rock, I think is great. I'm really excited to see where this band goes. They've worked their asses off, you know, they clearly love what they do. You can see it at any of their live performances or videos. They love what they're doing, and it shines through in the music, and that's why this album for me is an 8 out of 10. This is an awesome album. You should listen to it, regardless of how you feel about rock, regardless of how you feel about this band. Even if you didn't like them before, I would recommend checking it out. And that's something I really want to quickly just drive home. Listen to this album yourself. Don't take my word for it. Anything I say for my word for it, listen to it yourself. See how you feel about it. See if it's enjoyable for you, and let me know down below what's your favorite song. What is your favorite Warning album? What is your favorite live performance? Let me know down below, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one, friends. Take care. There are some criticisms. Criticisms. Learn how to speak, James.